Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question for Jeff.
Oh?
How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. As always, my class that I'm taking sucks.
It's terrible.
It sucks real bad.
Oh, dear.
Apparently, though, at the end, we get to give, feedback on our teachers.
Oh, boy.
So I will definitely be giving feedback on my current teacher. Sure. I don't want to get too much into it, but, the last class we had last Wednesday, we took a quiz 40 minutes into the class.
Yeah.
And then the teacher's daughter came up and gave a presentation that had nothing to do with the class. And then we went home.
Yeah.
That was the whole class.
Oh my goodness.
It was ridiculous. Anyway.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when they bring in people bring in family members to do a thing.
Yeah.
We had a similar thing in my work where my boss's mom came in and did a spiel about she works at a Chase Bank or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's she came in and did some sort of little presentation about I can't remember what it was because I just sort of zoned out because I'm I don't need this because this is basically just her trying to get people to open up Chase accounts.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
And I was no, I'm good. I got a credit union. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So I want to mention that we just had Will Hughes as a guest last episode.
Mm-hmm.
He was a blast to have on. I would love to have him on again sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
For anybody who didn't listen to that, Will Hughes is the host of Everything to Guppy. It's a Binding of Isaac podcast from the Duckfeed Network. We had Gary Butterfield from the Duckfeed Network on about a year ago, something like that. I think it'd be great to get Cole Ross on at some point, but I sent him an email a long time ago, and I don't think he ever got back to me. So, but we do have some other guests planned for in the near future, so stay tuned on that. You want to go ahead and jump into this episode, Jeff?
Sure.
Okay. I don't have a clever Dragon's Horde intro for this one, so roll a d20.
Oh,
Is that a 6?
Yeah, that's a 6.
Okay, we'll move on to the next segment, I guess. You didn't find the Dragon's Horde.
Okay, yeah. Right straight to questions.
You did not find the Dragon's Horde.
Better luck next time.
Yep. So today's Dragon's Horde item was submitted by Potato Plunderer via email.
Okay.
And this item is the Blood Skal Blade. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Blood Skal. The Blood Skal Blade.
Blood Skull.
It is a great sword. It is very rare. It requires attunement. This vicious weapon is a deep crimson, as if the blade was imbued with the blood of those it has slain. You gain a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this sword. When you attack with the blade, you may choose to release a crescent-shaped wave of force 10 feet long, 5 feet wide, and a 15-foot range.
What?
Any creatures targeted within range must make a DC 17 dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the targets take 2d6 force damage, or half as much on a successful save. This wave of force goes through enemies until it reaches its range of 15 feet, where it dissipates. So it doesn't hit one enemy and stop. It keeps going.
Sure.
If the wave of force hits a target no larger than Huge, who is unconscious or was brought to 0 hit points by the blade, the body of the target is propelled 20 feet away from the wielder. The same is true for any item or structure of similar size, such as a barrel or a wagon. Any damage the target may take from being flung, such as falling from a great height or hitting a wall of spikes, is up to DM's discretion.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a sword that lets you create a big old blast of knockback.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the blade in Sekiro.
Okay.
The big red one. When there's an ability you use where you create a big red crimson crescent slash.
Yeah,
thing.
it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it does knockback or anything like that, but
yeah, I don't think so. But I mean, visually, it's
sure.
That's pretty good. One thing that I note about this is that unless I missed it, there isn't a limit to how many times you can do this. I mean, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
I just think that's very powerful.
Sure.
Maybe legendary.
Yeah. Maybe once a short rests, would be with speed still pretty powerful.
Yeah. It's a +2 sword plus it has this
Like
special ability.
force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. I'm always a fan of stuff that lets you control the battlefield a little bit. I loved 4th edition, how it had so many abilities that push or pull enemies and so on. So I'm always a fan of this sort of stuff.
I think it's a 5th edition. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. There's like a 5th edition spell. It's in, I'm not sure which book it's in. It's not in the core books, but it's like, it might be a cantrip actually.
Okay.
Where it does like a D4 damage, but you also roll a D4 and it pushes them 1 square in a cardinal direction.
Oh.
I'm
not familiar with that, but
it's called like infestation or something like that. It's just like a tiny little bit of damage, if any, and it's like, and then they get like nudged, one space, but it's random, and there's a lot of like, if there's basically anything in that space, it doesn't move it at all.
Yeah,
like you can't force it anywhere. I don't think you can like force it off of an edge or something like that, but it just kind of like nudges them.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, maybe if they're up against the wall, you have a chance of nudging them away from the wall so somebody can get around them or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's just a neat little, control the battlefield sometimes cantrip.
Yeah. I like how this ability even affects like corpses and objects.
Yeah. So you can just kind of blow things away.
Right. I remember back in 3rd edition in the Epic Level Handbook, there were feats you could take that would make it so that like certain spells you could cast without spending a spell slot. You just always had them prepared. And you could even do that with like a quicken spell, which at the time there was no limit to how many quicken spells you could cast in a turn. They very quickly fixed that. But
yeah.
I remember reading one person said that they had taken all those feats to make it so they could cast the shatter spell with as a free action, as many times a day as they wanted. And back then, shatter was different than it is now. It didn't deal damage, but it did shatter non-magical unattended objects.
Right.
And so what they said was basically every time they enter a room, everything in the room explodes.
Dang it.
Yeah. So I like the idea of being able to like swing this sword and just like everything goes flying.
Right.
I think that's really cool. It's a great cinematic effect, and I love abilities that have cinematic effects like that.
Yeah, it's like adding like ragdoll, like video game ragdoll effects to D&D.
Yeah. Didn't you have a character that was built around knocking enemies really far?
Yeah. His name is Wedge. He was a Warforged juggernaut that Jay allowed me to give powerful build at the time.
Sure.
He just
this was a high level one shot we were doing.
Yeah. It was an epic. It was like it was going to be ending in the epic levels and stuff like that. So things were getting crazy. Plus, like for the adventure, there was only 3 of us, I think.
I think so, yeah. So you, me, and Steve.
So a little bump in our power was helpful. I think maybe Meg was in there too. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, he had a giant hammer.
Yeah.
It was a large-sized Goliath warhammer.
Yeah, so it was a whole bunch of D6 or D8 or something.
Yeah, and so like I had him so where he was always power attacking for at least 1 because all of his a lot of his effects were going off of that. So if he hits something with a power attack, he can basically bull rush them without having to move, and it would knock things like crazy far, like so over many feet, depending on how much damage he did. And I made sure he did a lot of damage in the hit, So yeah, there was a time, and I made sure that he was going to be able to hit things, so I gave it like ghost touch.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
want to be able to knock everything really far, not just corporeal.
Although there was an issue with that because I knocked a ghost through a wall, and then we lost sight of it, and then it came up behind us.
Yeah, I guess that's a downside. You got to make sure you're knocking him towards a wall of force or something,
right?
Or knock him towards a PC that has braces of armor on.
Meg was there. I remember.
Okay.
Because she was taking like the shape changer prestige class.
Okay.
That allowed her to turn into like oozes and stuff. Because I remember she turned into a bone ooze, and so I was knocking things into her.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So not really much else to talk about with this item. It's a cool item. It has a cool mechanical effect, cool thematic effect. It'd be cool to get a little bit more backstory on this item, maybe.
Sure.
I don't know. It's really cool
But,
mechanically.
Might need a tiny bit of a nerf on as far as like how many times that can be used. But
Yeah. I would want a clarification on that.
Yeah, but I mean
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. So yeah, thank you, Potato Plunderer, for the Blood Scowl Blade.
Oh, I love potatoes.
You better go plunder some potatoes.
Yeah.
Then.
Oh yeah, we're going on a plundering adventure into potato territory.
There you go. So Jeff, if somebody wanted to submit Magic Horde items, Dragon's Horde items, or if they wanted to submit questions for us to discuss or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. You could also check out our Interparty Discord. You can find the links on Facebook and Reddit, or send an email to that same email address and ask for the link.
Yeah, there you go. That's if you can't find it, just get in contact with us.
Yep.
All right, and then before we go any further, we have a giveaway to give away today. Mm-hmm. We are giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, courtesy of Goblinstone. It's a great adventure. It's a low-level 5th edition adventure, and Goblinstone is a great company that makes great products. So, Jeff, who is our winner of Chapel on the Cliffs today?
Today's winner is Chris B.
Whoa, winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes, congratulations, Chris B. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. If you don't get it within the next few days, let us know. But I'd say give him a week or so, just to be safe. And then, Jeff, if anybody else wanted to enter this drawing, how would they do that?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Chapel on the Cliffs in the subject line.
Yes, there you go. And we are perpetually running very low on people and people to win this adventure.
Right.
So,
yeah. Your odds are usually really good.
Yes.
If you decide you want to enter,
yeah,
you've got a really good chance of winning, within the next few weeks.
Yep. And Chris B, just make sure that you leave Goblinstone a review. Let them know what you think so they can continue to make good products.
Yep.
So, and then I want to tell everybody that our show is brought to you by our wonderful patrons. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. We have some cool rewards on there. We've got outtakes. Just as of a couple days ago, there was the outtake apocalypse happened.
Yeah,
it had been a long time since I'd put out some outtakes, so I put a whole bunch of them out. I tried warning everybody to maybe turn off their notifications for a little while, but not everybody got the message. So some people were annoyed by the 30 notifications all within a span of 5 minutes or whatever.
Goodness.
So sorry everybody, but hey, I personally prefer making each of them their own individual file rather than, I know a lot of podcasts will combine them all into an hour-long thing.
Sure.
I like being able to give context for each of them, which I do in the text for each file. But I wouldn't want to record an intro for each and every one. I feel like that's just not what I'm interested in at all.
Sure.
So I do stand by my decision to release them all individually.
Yeah.
I just wish there were a way to do it without making everybody turn off notifications for Patreon and then never turn them back on.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way for you to when you post something, if there's a way to not push a notification on it or something.
There may be.
There might
now
be.
that you mention it, I will be looking into that.
It's hard to say because even something like Twitch. Mm-hmm. You can't go live on Twitch without it pushing a notification. Because there's been times when I wanted to test the connection or make sure everything's working fine in the stream or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you can't go live and test things because then it notifies everybody, oh, hey, so-and-so is online.
Sure.
So what you have to do is use the same program to record something rather than stream it and hope for the best. You know?
Mm-hmm. Anyway, my point was that our Patreon is great. One of the rewards was the outtakes, and one more thing about this outtake apocalypse that happened. The Micro Center saga was included in that.
Oh yeah,
that is me going on a big old rant about my local computer store and how awful they are.
Oh yeah.
It's a good listen, I would say. So if nothing else, that $1 a month for the outtakes is worth it, even if just for
one of Gabe,
the Micro Center saga.
Yeah, for one of the Gabe rants.
Yes. In addition to outtakes, the lowest tier gets monthly fantasy fiction written by me. The next tier up gets bonus episodes, also a little monthly update from me about how the podcast is going, what sort of media I've been consuming. I hadn't put out one of those in a long time either, so I got one of those out with lots of information about the podcast, my personal life, about lots of media and content and stuff. Also, the top tier, you get to take part in our monthly Roll20 game. And also, I will write about your character for the monthly fiction. So lots of cool rewards on there. So go check that out at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. See if anything appeals to you. If it does, toss us a couple bucks and it'll help make the show better. And it'll give you some cool content in return. Also, one last thing, check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Crit Academy, critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Brandon create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. It is great. They've been also making some products for the DMs Guild that have been coming out recently and been getting a lot of great reviews. Also, check out D&D Character Lab. It had been a while since I had listened to them because of some changes that I made with my podcast listening device. And I just got caught up on their episodes a couple days ago. And they actually did an episode where they were doing some of the Crit Academy archetypes for their characters.
Sure. Yeah.
And sorry, I didn't say what they do. D&D Character Lab, Garen and Dan make characters every week and then pit them against each other and debate whose character is better. So they're constantly using third-party content. They're using new content on DM's Guild. Every time a new book comes out, they do something from it. So they're a great podcast. And Brute Force and Ignorance is an actual play podcast. They are on hiatus at the moment. They may be coming back sometime soon. They may not. But whatever the case, the episodes they've already got up are great. You should go listen to those as well. Enough of that. You want to get into some questions, Jeff?
Sure.
Cool.
Our first question comes from Jason on Discord. What is your favorite range of levels to play? What is your favorite range of levels to DM?
Yeah. So to start off, a few, depending on how many of them we get to, our questions today are probably going to be a bit like meta game themed.
Sure.
As far as range of levels to play, what would you say, Jeff?
I don't like starting I don't like starting any lower than 3 just because of the picking the archetype and stuff.
Yeah.
Because when I make a character, I usually try to base the character off of the mechanics rather than the other way around.
Sure.
Yeah, so like mostly because I don't want to have the issue that I've had before where like I base a character off of like a cool thing I want him to do and then he ends up not being good at it or something, or it's like it's not viable and I end up being like, dying early or something like that. So I like to have a good start to like the stats of the character and then I can kind of build like the background of the character from there.
Sure.
And then like, anything up from there really, but like, I rarely ever make it past like level 9 or something, depending on how long the group goes for.
Sure. Similarly, I don't like playing too low of level. I feel like first level sucks.
Yeah.
In every edition but fourth, first level is awful. Mm-hmm. It never feels fun. It never feels heroic. Everybody goes down in one hit no matter what.
Yeah. First
level is just too hit or miss.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yep.
Literally and figuratively.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
So I generally try not to play or DM first level. I'll get to DM later, but second level is a little bit better than first level. I think in a lot of ways, second level is good, but in 5th edition especially, you really hit the nail on the head. Third level is like the sweet spot because every class is going to have their build at that point.
Yeah.
Like first level, there's a couple classes like I think Wizard and Cleric pick out their type. I think maybe even not fighter. A couple classes pick their like what type of class they're going to be at for what archetype they're going to be at first level. A couple classes get second level, but then everybody has it by third level.
Yeah.
So every third level character, you've got your druid circle, you've got your monk style, you've got your
paladin oath,
your warlock's pact. Not like with a warlock, you have to choose a patron at first level, but you don't pick your pact until third level.
Right. Yeah.
So third level, you definitely have everything that you can use to make your character. Also, if you want to multi-class.
Yeah.
It gives you a little bit of leeway to get your foot in the door in a couple different classes.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, you're not going to have the archetype with, with all the classes that you multi-class in. But
I know with fighter and paladin, you choose a fighting style, but you don't actually get your martial archetype or oath until third.
Yeah, because you do get a few classes that, get something good in first level. And then like, with a wizard, you get... you pick your specialization at second level, I think. So
is it second level? Oh,
I believe so.
Okay.
I think so. So yeah, you can sneak in a good multi-class build in in the first few levels that way. So so if you got a neat idea for something, you can start pretty early.
Yeah. So third level I think is a good starting point. Probably my favorite starting point is 5th. Because by that point you're established enough. I've talked before about how like you you don't necessarily have to be. You don't have to base your backstory on what level you are. Like I've said that in theory, there's no reason that you couldn't have a captain of the guard that is a first level character if you wanted to.
Right.
Because the story and the mechanics don't have to be connected unless the DM wants them to be. But I think that it feels better for most players to have a few levels under their belt before they start, stretching out their imagination to, oh, my character's a legendary monster slayer or whatever.
Yeah.
So 5th level I think is pretty good. Whenever I make characters for the library games that I do, because I every month I run a game at my local library for an hour-long game for people just to learn to play the game if they never played it before. I've pre-made characters because, as I learned last session, I decided, hey, I'm gonna help the people here make their own characters. And that took up more than an hour, just helping 2 people make characters.
Right.
So making characters takes forever. So I've pre-made characters. And I made them at 2nd level because, number 1, 1st level sucks.
Yeah.
And number 2, if I made them all 3rd level, some of them would have abilities that were a bit too complicated to easily explain to someone in like the first 10 minutes of the session.
Yeah.
So I made everybody 2nd level, and then the people who do get their archetype by 2nd level, I specifically chose options that are a little bit quicker to explain, quicker to understand. So
right, yeah.
2nd level is a really good sweet spot for that. 3rd level, though, I think is better for a longer running game.
Sure.
I don't really have much experience playing high-level characters. I've played high-level characters a few times. Mm. Not in 5th edition, though. I don't think I've ever played a 5th edition character very high at all.
Yeah.
In previous editions, I'd played high-level characters. The thing about high-level characters is that they have so many options that if you didn't build them, if you didn't start at a lower level, chances are you're going to forget a lot of the options you have. You're going to find the 1 or 2 things that you use and then just stick to those.
Yeah.
The few times that we have started with like a one shot that was high level, it's been a big mess. It's been taking a long time for each of us to figure out exactly what we're doing. Whereas the times that we started at lower level and then made our way up, it felt a lot better. So as far as like the highest level I would ever want to start a game, maybe 10th. I would be a bit hesitant to start a game higher than 10th if it's going to be a longer running game. When I played as Ichi, I think we were 7th level when we made the characters, because I actually joined the group a little late. And yeah, so we were 7th level when we started. We eventually went to about 20th level. So
I think with the Age of Worms, we went from 1st to like 20.
I think 20, maybe even 21st.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe,
so like,
I think you got to 20th level.
Yeah. So like, you get a feel for the character on your way up and stuff. So you kind of, like I remember I had a big long list of like all my like so many times per day abilities. I had like little like check boxes that I had listed and stuff like that. So like I had a list of like, as I was getting new things, I would write it on the list and write a little checkbox things and like, like I have this many slots of this or whatever. So I had a running list of all the stuff I can do. Yeah. Whereas if you go in with a big thing, you're like, it's either got to go down the list and write a whole thing out all at once, or you pick the ones you like and leave the rest blank until you feel like you might need to look for another option.
Sure.
So,
as far as favorite range of levels to DM, similarly, I would not want to just start DMing a really high level game. Mm-hmm. I've only DM'd one high level game, that was the Age of Worms. I think the only time I would want to play a high level game as a DM is if we started low and I got to adjust how to run the game as the players were adjusting to play higher level characters.
Yeah, in the same way that you as the DM have to get to know what the players can do so that you know how to handle it when they do it.
Yeah, because the thing about being a high level character is just that you have so many options, not only written on your character sheet, but also, assuming you've been playing for a while, you should have a whole lot of connections, a whole lot of things at your disposal, whether you have them on you or not.
Right, yeah.
I want to say the 3rd edition DMG said something along the lines of, if you put a challenge in a dungeon that can only be overcome by a specific spell, starting around 10th or 12th level, even if the players don't have that spell, they have some way to get that spell. You can put obstacles that have a very specific solution, and the players will have some way to overcome it, even if they don't have it immediately. They'll be able to get it.
Right, yeah. Like, because at a certain point you can you have access to NPCs that might know those spells, or or might know somebody who knows somebody.
Or you'll have money that you can use to buy a scroll of it, buy a magic item of it, hire a wizard to whatever.
Yeah.
High level, it's really hard to make challenges that you don't want the players to be able to get through easily, because they have so many things that you probably haven't taken into account.
Yeah. They have a lot of resources at that point.
Right. We talked in a few episodes ago about challenges that are meant to have only one specific solution. At low level, that's a tough thing to do, but at high level, it's much more acceptable. So I don't know. It's hard to run a high level game.
Yeah.
It's hard to overestimate your players at a high level. It's very easy to underestimate your players, because your players will pull something out of their pocket that you didn't realize they had, and then
you're like, crap, I did give them that. Oh,
yeah,
that ring of 3 wishes. Why?
Well, and if you're at a high level, you might have a ring of 3 wishes. That's a literal thing. As Ichi, I had a ring of 3 wishes at one point. The DM made me waste 2 of them.
Yeah, the DM basically tricked you into, or forced you into using it up.
Yeah. So my favorite range of levels is probably pretty close to my favorite range of levels as a player.
Yeah.
So my favorite range of levels to DM would probably be similarly between 5 and 10.
Yeah.
I think that's at the point where the players are really coming into their own. They've got a bunch of stuff at their disposal. You can take off the kid gloves.
Yeah. Yeah, take off the kid gloves, but you
But it's not getting out of hand yet.
Right. They're not going to surprise you too much.
Yes, you're not going to point the finger.
Finger of Death. That's what level spell is that?
And then I don't know. I'm trying to make some more hand puns.
Oh, okay.
Because you can take off the kid gloves.
Oh, sure.
You can. It doesn't get out of hand. You don't have to point the finger.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Yeah. So I don't really have much more else for this question.
Right.
Pretty self-explanatory. I think to play maybe second or third level, and then to DM between 5 and 10.
Yeah, right in that range.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question comes from Peter K. This is on email. What do you think is the best way to roll for stats?
And then in parentheses, if you had to roll.
Right.
That was specified.
Because there is standard array and point buy.
Yes. And I don't like rolling for stats. If I have not made that clear on the podcast before, I do not like rolling for stats. You know why, Jeff?
Why is that?
I'm always the one who rolls real bad. Always.
Well, I don't like rolling for stats because I am just too tempted to keep rolling and rolling and rolling until I get something I like.
Well, I mean, I think the assumption is that you don't get to keep rolling, and that's why I don't like it.
Well, yeah, but if I'm gonna roll and no one's watching, I'm like, well,
yeah. Well,
I don't like these. I'll what I usually do is I'll do a roll of an array. I'll roll out an array, and whatever that is, I'm like, okay, and then I'll roll out. I won't roll each. I won't roll the dice until I get an 18, write an 18 down, and roll until I get an 18 and write an 18 down. I roll. It's okay, 12, 11, 18, 16, 1, or 8, 8, 8. Okay, well, that one's kind of crappy. Next one, 12, 14, 16. All right, that's not so bad. 8, 8. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And then I'll keep, I'll do it 6 at a time. And then until but I'll be tempted to keep going 6 at a time until one array is decent,
Yeah.
So, it's too tempting for me to just kind of go until I got something that fits the build I want. And at that point, it feels kind of cheap.
Yeah.
That's why I prefer to go with just standard array or point buy.
Yeah.
And anytime I build a character, I just use the point buy system and the standard point buy system. And it keeps me at the same level as it should be.
Yeah. And I mean, this question is not about rolling versus point buy, because we have had an episode about that in the past. Just to close it off, I prefer point buy because everyone's on an even playing field. Mm-hmm. You cannot make an argument about whether one person has an easier time or a harder time than somebody else, because everybody started with the same thing. Mm-hmm. Whether that is good or bad, I would rather start everybody bad than some people good, some people bad.
Right.
Personally. Anyway, when it comes to rolling, I think the standard is 46, drop the lowest one.
Sure.
Just roll 6 and then assign them wherever you want. We've had a few different methods over the years, mainly in 3rd edition, because again, I don't like rolling, so I don't I don't have rolling in any of my games, at least not for a long time. So back in 3rd edition, I think when I started playing with Chris,
Dang,
was when I was playing as Ichi. Their method was roll 5d6, drop the lowest 2,
Sure.
re-roll 1s and 2s. So your lowest stat was going to be a 9. Your lowest stat was going to be a 9, but most likely all of your stats were going to be much higher than that.
Sure.
I'm the kind of player that if I'm going to roll, I would rather have 118 and then everything else be garbage. Like I don't care. I'm fine with having bad stats as long as I've got that one stat that's like real good.
Right. It's like, if you're a fighter, you want it to be in your strength or dex or something like that.
Sure.
You want to have that thing. You want to have that thing that you're good at.
Yeah.
It sucks when you build your character to do a one thing and it fails every time because of, rolls.
And there was one time when I decided I want to just, because I had a whole long streak of rolling for characters and my stats were, I didn't have an 18 in anything. And meanwhile, everybody else is like, oh, I've got 2 18s. And, it's not that they cheated. Like everyone saw them roll it. It's just they rolled better than me. And there was a time I sat down. I was like, okay, I'm going to roll sets of 6 stats over and over and over again until I get a single 18.
Yeah.
It took like 15 sets
geez.
before I had a single. I got a couple 17s, but not a single 18
Right, yeah.
until. So again, I prefer point buy or array, but whatever. That's not what this is about.
Yeah, and with point buy and array, you can't get higher than a 15.
Well, correct. For the 5th edition point buy. In previous editions, you could, but you basically have to spend all your points on it.
True. That's true.
Because as you put points into your stats, the higher they get, the more expensive it gets.
Right, yeah, because like when you go from like 13 to 14, it costs like 2 points or something like that.
Yeah, in 5th edition, there is a cap of 15 to make it more in line with the standard array. If I recall, the 4th edition method, like the 4th edition character builder, did not have that. You could have an 18, you just had to spend most of your points to get it.
So I've always just gone with rolling. It's usually just do you have 46, drop the lowest one. But I feel like if you're gonna do rolls, because it can be fun. Yeah, having like random.
It can be. I'm not saying that nobody should enjoy it. Just personally, if I have the choice, standard array or point buy every time.
Because you always have that chance of getting like 3 18s. Like, whoa,
And I mean, I've seen that happen.
Yeah,
completely legit. It happens.
Yeah, it happens. So like that moment that it's like, wow, okay, this character's gonna be freaking awesome. Yeah,
but then it makes the person who rolled their highest stats a 13. Their stats aren't low enough to qualify for re-rolling. They've still got a total modifiers of +1 or whatever.
Yeah,
but it makes that person feel like, oh, why am I even here? Why is my character Is my character relegated to shining the shoes of the guy with the 3 18s?
Yeah.
It can feel like that sometimes. I'm not saying that you can't have a good time. Again, I'm sure I talked about this in our episode about point buy versus rolling. It doesn't mean you can't have a good time. It just means you have to work harder to have a good time.
Right. Yeah.
Most players will have to work harder to have a good time.
Yep.
Anyway.
I wonder if there's some way to it's like if everybody rolls and then you total up the numbers.
Well,
and then if you if you're like, okay, like the total of his numbers is like 5 more than everybody else's. Okay. Now, so everybody else can put 5 points into something. I don't know.
There was a campaign we did where everybody rolled a set. Like everybody rolled their stats, 46, dropped the lowest one, rolled 6 of them. And then we compared everybody's rolls. As a group, we voted on which one we liked most. Everyone got that same array.
Sure, yeah.
So like if one player rolls really good, everybody gets those same good stats.
Yeah.
It's not that the one with the good rolls gets the good rolls, the one with the bad rolls gets the bad rolls. Everyone gets whichever one we choose on.
Right.
If you're going to roll, I think that is probably that's a very good way to do it because again, everyone gets the even playing field, but it is still random.
Yeah, it's still random. So you could end up with some low ones in there, but like the guy, he rolled a 17 and an 18. We want that one. It's like, there's a 7 in there too, but
Yeah. And then when we did do Age of Worms, I'm pretty sure the way that I did it was I had each of you roll. I think I had you roll 3 sets, and then each of you chose whichever one of your sets you liked the best.
Yeah.
Once you chose that, you then showed them to me. I looked at each of yours, and then each player I assigned one of their stats to become an 18. I think is what I did.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that if you rolled really good, let's say you already had 2 18s, I might just say, oh, you're good where you are.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you had 2 18s and a 17 or something, I might say, okay, the 17 becomes an 18.
Sure.
But then the guy who rolled really low, I might take his lowest stat and make it an 18.
Yeah, exactly.
So
like a little equalizer sort of thing.
I don't remember exactly what you guys had in there because this was like over 10. This was like 12 or 13 years ago. But I feel like that is a more fair way to do it. Still not perfectly fair. I do think that everybody having the same set is probably the most fair way to do it.
Yeah.
But I think for the campaign we were doing, everybody was happy with it. So
I think I like that way just because like everyone having the same set is sort of like it's kind of boring, in some way.
Maybe it's a good set.
It could be a good set. I mean, it's the same as the standard array at Ray. It's just different. You know? I don't know. But yeah, that sounds pretty good though. Yeah, take 46, drop the lowest one. DM changes something to an 18.
Yeah,
I think that sounds pretty good.
Now another part of this that I think should be touched upon is that in first edition, I don't think it was this case in second edition. I could be wrong, but in first edition, you didn't get to reorder your stats.
Oh yeah,
you rolled in order.
Right, that's right. You rolled for your strength.
Your first roll was 3d6, and that's your strength.
Yep.
3d6, that's your dexterity. 3d6, that's your constitution. Or whatever. I think actually the order might have been different back then. But whatever the case, you rolled in order and you had to stick with what was in that order. Which meant you would probably end up rolling and then decide what your class was.
I was gonna say, like, is there some rule in the first edition book that you choose your class first and you have to?
I don't know, but I'm sure there are groups where you did have to choose your class first. And okay, well, I'm the fighter and I got a 6 strength. Or okay, I'm the wizard and I'm dumb as a rock.
Right.
I'm the cleric. I can't cast any spells.
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't sound fun to me. No. Hey, if you're enjoying it for your group, awesome, but that does not sound remotely fun to me. Maybe for a one shot where the purpose is to not have fun, or the purpose is to feel like you're useless.
Right? Yeah.
Does not. No, that's bad.
Well, because in more advanced play, it would be kind of neat to to roll it that way and then kind of pick your build afterwards.
If that's your intent, if that is your choice, go for it. That does sound
it's like if you can't if you can't decide what you want to be, you maybe roll out your stats in order like that, and then be like, oh, okay, high strength, like a high strength and a high wisdom or something like that. Yeah, I could go with like a fighter or something like that, or or you might be like, or maybe like a ranger, do like strength build ranger or something like that. So yeah, kind of like. If you can't decide, let the dice decide.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of neat.
The first long-term game I ever played in, I was playing in a group where one of the players he was a wizard. We rolled for stats. He had a 4. So he put that 4 in Constitution. He got 1 hit point per level.
Jeez.
He still rolled, even though he had a -3 to his roll. He had a D4, so the highest he could ever get is a 1. A 1, minimum of 1. So,
right, yeah.
He still rolled. He still kept track of what he rolled, just in case he ever got a higher constitution and suddenly it was possible to get more than a 1.
Sure.
But he still rolled, still kept track of it. And then he had a ton of he would cast false life on himself.
Yeah.
So that he could, in theory, get into combat if he wanted to. He could take a hit. He wasn't going to die immediately, but still,
yeah,
man, I wouldn't have done that.
The first character I ever had, second edition, and he had 3 hit points. Started with 3 hit points, and he was I think he was a ranger. He was like a ranger thief, a thief ranger. I think because there was multi-classing, but you can only be specific classes,
right,
with specific races.
I do remember that, yeah.
So there was combinations of I think it was thief, mage, cleric, but I think only
so. It was
gnomes.
just okay, yeah.
I think it was just gnomes that could do it.
Yeah.
Like gnomes were the only ones who could multi-class those 3 classes.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, like, you maybe saw like a couple pairings of like, fighter mage or a thief mage or like a cleric, a cleric thief or something.
Yeah.
Like very, very limited selection of multi-classing. But I think I was thief ranger, or no, maybe I was a thief fighter. I don't know. I can't remember if ranger was even an option in second edition.
I think if I recall, I never actually played second edition, but I think ranger was. No, I'm thinking of paladin. I think Ranger was a class in second edition.
Yeah, okay.
Because my experience with second edition was playing Curse of the Azure Bonds.
Sure.
The computer game.
Oh, yeah.
Ranger was a class in that, and I didn't know what the difference was between a Ranger and a fighter.
And I think the first Baldur's Gate game, I think, was in second edition.
Yeah.
And I think it did have Ranger. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, multi-classing. What were we talking about?
Rolling for stats.
Right.
Yeah, so I think if you're going to roll for stats, the best way to do it is have everybody roll, and then once you've all vote on which of those arrays is better, everybody gets the same set of stats.
So, yeah, find some way to equal it out a little bit so it's not, one person's dominating over everything than somebody else. So.
But if you have a choice, don't roll.
Yeah.
You never hear somebody be like, oh man, this character's so broken because we did point buy. No. You never hear that. You never hear like, oh man, I feel like my character's gimped because we did point buy. No. Yeah. You have the same characters, the same stats as everybody else.
There was a game I went into and I just assumed, because I prefer point buy, I just assumed it was point buy. So I just made a point buy character. And then when I got into it, somebody had like I knew what level everybody was because I think we started at 2. Yeah. And somebody had like an 18 or something. I'm like, how do you have an 18? And they're like, because I rolled it good. I'm like, oh, you guys rolled for stats.
Yeah.
And like the DM was like, do you want to roll for your stats? And I was like, it's like, if I don't like him, can I just keep the ones that keep the array? And he was like, yeah, fine. So I rolled out three arrays, and I was like, nah, I'll just keep. Yeah. Like I rolled bad, and I was like, no.
See, that's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a good thing. That'd be a good way. Like if you roll bad, give them the option of just taking the array instead. Like if it's worse than the array, or point buy.
I guess I'm more down for that.
Yeah.
But again, the guy who rolled 3 18s by sheer luck,
right,
still sitting there with those 3 18s.
Right, that's true. But at the very least, you can still buy out your stats the way you want them and stuff like that. Sure. You get a little bit more. You get way more choices that way because you say, I don't care about charisma. I'm just gonna leave it at an 8.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Our next question comes from Jason the Human on Discord. Do you like to use a DM screen, and what sort of information do you add to it to keep it readily available?
Yeah, so so far I generally don't use a DM screen. I find that it tempts me to fudge dice more often.
Sure.
So it's better for me personally when I don't use one. That being said, in recent years I've started to really appreciate the idea of a DM screen because they have all sorts of information on them.
Right, yeah, you can, they come printed with it on there, or you can always just tape stuff on.
Exactly. Some information that I think is really good to have on there, common DCs.
Right.
Names. Mm-hmm. A list of skills. You have no idea how many times I've started to run a game, and then I'm like, oh, you should make and then I'm like, shoot, what are the skills in this edition?
Right, yeah.
Is it spot or perception or is history a skill?
Yeah.
Is profession a skill? Is innuendo a skill? What edition is this?
Yeah.
It is great just to have a list of skills, even just to give you ideas. Like if the players are going through a dungeon, you're looking at the list of skills and it's like, ooh, I should have one of them make an athletics, find something to make an athletics check for.
Sure.
And then, go from there.
Yeah. Cause it's exciting when it's like, oh, you're making skill checks or skill challenges and stuff like that. So,
when we did our actual play, may it someday find the light of day. When we did that, I really did want to use a DM screen because I wanted to be able to have all this information at hand.
Yeah,
I didn't own one though, so I realized this. I thought of this like the day before, and so I went to my friendly local gaming store, and I thought surely they will have a DM screen. But I got there and they didn't. The only DM screens they had, the only official ones, because I wanted a 5th edition one, because I wanted like the 5th edition DCs and such.
Yeah.
The only ones they had were campaign specific, so they had like Waterdeep Dragon Heist one,
like Curse of Strahd or something.
And I thought, I mean, oh well, those are probably cool. So I asked the guy behind the counter, you know, what's different about these? And he was like, oh yeah, it's the same as a regular one. It's just got a little bit of information about the campaign in question. And I did it because I have a smartphone now. You know, welcome to 2005 or whatever. I tried doing a Google search to find out, like, you know, how different is this? 'Cause I'm not running one of those. I want to make sure that it'll have relevant information on it.
Right, yeah. You're missing out on relevant information because it wants to put in character names that you're not going to use.
Right. But I found several people who had asked a similar question online, and the answer is they actually are not good for if you're not running that campaign.
Sure.
Because it actually doesn't have, contrary to what the guy behind the counter told me, it does not have a lot of the general information. It just has stuff. It has like faction names and, you know, stuff like that relevant to the campaign in question.
Which, I mean, stuff like that would be good to have.
Oh, yeah.
If it's relevant to your campaign, you know, you post that kind of stuff on your board, you know, like,
yeah, if I was running Curse of Strahd or whatever, that would have been awesome. But for what I needed it for, I'm glad I didn't take the guy's advice blindly, because I would have opened it up and then been like, oh, this is not what I want at all.
There's like a little there's a website I like to go into. I can't remember what it's called, but it's just like little shorthand information, and like it's interactive too, so you can click on it and like tell you more. But it's basically like list of like, it's just like conditions and actions, you know, like all the different actions that you can do and stuff like that.
You sent this to me a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's real easy
and like
real good.
And like that would be pretty easily printed out too. Like it won't have like the full descriptions, but like just like a shorthand, like, oh, as a, as an action, you have these options to do as an action and stuff like that. Or like, these are the conditions you have. And then like, you know, in the website, you can click it and it'll show you what each one does specifically.
Sure. Yeah, like sorry to interrupt. The flow of battle is an important thing to have on there too.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like actions in combat, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and then you know, there's always room for things like, you know, keeping track of initiative, and I think one time you suggested instead of rolling for like random stuff, you have you roll out a list of D20. You just roll D20.
Make a whole bunch of D20 rolls ahead of time, and then just check them off whenever you need a
So have
roll.
like a little thing like that. So it's like you just roll a D20 like 50 times before the game.
Yeah.
And then you have a roll of 50. You might never even make it through all of them, you know, in one adventure, but you still got it until the next time.
That can be good, but with the DM screen, there's the mind game you get to play when the players hear you rolling behind the screen.
That's true. It's the little extra,
So, but I was saying with for our actual play, I wanted a DM screen, didn't have one. Justin, actually from Crit Academy, he brought one when he came over. That it was not a normal DM screen, so it wasn't what I was looking for. But it was actually, in some ways, it was better. What it was the entire thing was descriptive words.
Oh, right,
descriptive words for different types of attacks. So like each screen of it, because it's like a 4-piece thing that like folds out. So each of the 4 screens, I want to say one of them was like descriptive words for using a slashing weapon.
Yep.
A descriptive words for using a piercing weapon, a bludgeoning weapon. I want to say there was like types of pain or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm remembering this a little wrong, but it was like, if you want to spice up your descriptions in combat, which I do. I know that is a failing of mine. I am not as... Here's the thing about Justin. That is a huge, huge compliment to him. He goes 100% whole hog into descriptions when he's a player and when he's a DM. And from what I have gleaned of him as a DM, like, that is a big strength of his. He is always ready with like an evocative description.
Sure.
And so it makes sense that he would have something like this. And it was really cool. But in general, I'm looking for more like rules reference stuff like that.
Yeah, something you don't have to go flipping through the book for. You just got it right in front of you.
Yeah. But if you need to like put some sticky notes on your DM screen, I would say put some descriptive words on there. Another thing to put on there is if you're introducing a new city, put some information about the city on there. When we had on, I want to say it was Jessica from Incoming Game. We talked about I'm going to call it MERPs, MERPS, which is like, I don't remember what they all stood for, but they're different things that help you, like things that you should keep in mind about your city. Like what is the I think the R stands for religious. Like what is the religious?
It's well, I'm gonna remember it in the correct way. It's like social, I think. So like or
I think it is social.
Yeah, it's
social, political.
So, social, political, economic, religious, and military.
Okay, so MERPs.
So
as you can see. Also, another thing that I did try to write and stick on my DM screen when we did that, not that it necessarily came out, in play, but is I tried to write down the 5 senses, because you want to make sure that you are appealing to the player's 5 senses whenever possible.
Yeah.
Don't just say you walk in, it's a 10 by 10 room. Say you walk in, it's a 10 by 10 room. The walls are like a dull gray, kind of greenish color. You hear a dripping off in the distance. You feel a slight zephyr of wind go through from a chamber beyond, and you smell. It smells like copper in here.
So there's like adjectives, right?
Yeah,
like order of adjectives.
Yes.
There's like you describe like the color first or something like that. I wonder, is there a way you got to do that with your senses?
I don't think so. I don't think there's like a hard and fast rule about which senses. Although, I mean, human beings physically take in, you react to visual stimulus the fastest.
Sure.
Audio stimulus the second fastest, and I'm not sure which one's after that. But I think actually touch might be the fastest.
Yeah, well, touch, but I mean, like, obviously, if you're not within touch of it.
Right. That depends on, because I remember there was like a car that they were implementing. If you're about to hit something, the seat will shake.
Sure.
Because you will notice a tactile sensation before you see something.
Right. Yeah.
And anyway. So this is a bit of a tangent, but when you're giving adjectives in English, there is an order to what adjectives you have to give them. And that the order is quantity or number, quality or opinion, size, age, shape, color, proper adjective, so like nationality or place of origin, and then purpose or qualifier. I guarantee you, no person could list those, but if you heard something where the order was out of order, you would immediately recognize something as wrong.
Yeah, it would sound weird,
So like if someone said, I love that really big old green antique car, that sounds fine. But if someone said, I like that really big green old antique car, it sounds wrong.
Sounds a little off.
Something sounds off. You don't put old after green, you put old before green.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, like, if you're describing something as in relative to the 5 senses, if you should describe it in a specific order or something like that.
I don't know. I would say visual first. Visual after that, grab bag. But
Sure.
Probably visual sound.
I don't know. It depends on exactly like the context. Like if they're opening a door, they might not see something right away.
They might hear the noise first.
They might hear it, or like if they open a door, there might be a gust of like a breeze come through the door once they open it, or a smell that kicks up before they even get the door fully open, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's more depending on the moment, I guess.
Yeah. So just like putting them in the order you want to have the main focus be, just putting them on there could be really useful. Yeah. There is a thing that I might 3D print sometime soon, if I can find the right file for it. Somebody, I want to say it was on Facebook, somebody posted a picture of this thing that they had 3D printed. It was a dice tower, but it's a tiny little single D20 sized dice tower, and it clips onto a DM screen.
Oh yeah.
So you hang it on the front, on the other side of the DM screen, and whenever, like, if the players need you to roll, if you want to roll something, you want all the players to be able to see it, you just drop that single D20 into that little thing. It lands in a spot all the players can see it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. They didn't list the file though, the link to the file. And every time I go searching for the file, I can find an Etsy store that sells it, not the file, sells the product.
Yeah.
And then on Thingiverse, which is where I get a lot of my files from, there are other versions of that, but none of them are, they don't look right. None of them are as simple as that one is.
Sure.
So I'll try to see if I could ever figure out how to 3D model something, I guarantee I can make it easy because it's a very simple thing.
Sure.
But I have no clue how to make a 3D model.
I used to do 3D modeling back in the day, and I haven't touched it in a long time, but like I keep meaning to like try to find a program that I'm familiar enough with that I could start working on stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like it's just like Blender's a free one, but it's pretty advanced at this point. So
yeah, I tried using Blender. I spent 20 minutes trying to make a rectangle and gave up.
Yeah, there was a point where like I was fairly like I was a novice, I'd say, at Maya. Maya was was like a 3D animating program. Like like I think like some Pixar movies were made in Maya at some point.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not 100% sure.
So I guess we've pretty much covered a lot of what I have to say about this. I think DM screens can be really good if they have the right information. And like I said, I personally am looking more for rules reference. Names is such an important thing to have on there because how often do you just need a name?
Yeah.
And if you just have a list of names, it's gonna sound so much more like the NPC is intended to be a part of the game and not just like, you want to talk to the shopkeeper? His name is Bob.
Bob.
But no, if you're like, oh, the shopkeeper? Yeah, his name's Bob. Then, it's going to feel a lot more intentional. So that'll do it for our regular questions for today. But we do still have our social media discussion questions. Our question from last week was, while exploring a dungeon, you open a door to a stairwell that leads both up and down from your current floor. Which direction do you go first? Do you recall your answer, Jeff?
I can't remember. I think I went with down, but I think you talked me back into going
Maybe. I say up.
Yeah.
Because if I need to make a hasty retreat, it's easier to go down the stairs than it is to go up the stairs.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And some of our listeners had similar responses. But,
yeah. I feel like that seems to be the consensus.
It's a smart answer, I guess. So we got a few responses on Facebook. Romeen says, whichever direction goes toward the treasure. Duh.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah. Put it that way.
That's a good answer.
Treasure, duh.
Yep. Sean says, if I know what direction I have to eventually go, my completionist side goes the other way.
Right.
If I happen to know what area is smaller, i.e. small castle turrets go up from the main floor, it's probably that. If I don't know, it's a toss-up. So like if you know, okay, we're trying to get to the basement, I'm going to go up first, is what he's saying. I'm going to go up, clear that out so nobody follows up, nobody comes at us from behind, and then go down.
Right. Because like in any video game, when you have like, paths that go in different directions, but where the main story takes you, now path B. Yeah. I'm going to go check on path A and C first to make sure there's not only like power-ups or extra treasure and stuff like that. So yeah, that's usually how we like to do things. Sure.
Craig says he agrees with me, but with a slightly different method. I would always go up first because it is almost always easier to go down than up. For example, jumping out a window with Featherfall.
Sure.
Yeah. That wasn't what I had in mind, but that makes a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah. So if you have to get that back down in a hurry, there's plenty of options.
Yep. Scott says I went down, 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 and the flames went higher, and it burns. The ring of fire.
Oh no.
The ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire.
Oh no.
So our funeral pyre story for today.
Oh no.
Yeah, I feel like when that first got posted, I had an idea for how to integrate it into the podcast in a more interesting way, but decided not to.
That's good.
Brandon says, I just blindly and randomly stick to the first thought that comes to mind.
Sure.
Hey, it works.
Go with your gut.
Go with your gut. Better than sitting around debating whether to go up or down.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a table full of players who can't decide how to open a door.
Yep.
Yeah. No, you got to be that barbarian and just open it up. Just go.
Yeah. Eric B gives a pretty long and detailed response. Up. Over on Reddit, Timmy Soup says, down for sure. Everyone knows all the good stuff is kept hidden in the basement.
Sure.
Just got to be careful what's lurking down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Yeah. The princess is in the tower. The treasure's in the basement.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or the prince. The prince could be in the tower.
That's true.
On Twitter, Collins B says, the video game completionist me The video game completionist in me says go up, since dungeons typically go down till you reach the boss. Stairs leading up probably lead to a few monsters, some decent loot, then a dead end, a perfect place for a short rest.
Sure.
See, I could be wrong. I feel like it's the other way around. I feel like the bad guy's at the top of the tower.
Yeah, it depends on the style of the bad guy.
In the video game Magic Sword, the arcade game Magic Sword, one of my favorite arcade games, you are going up.
That's true.
That's what I'm using for the basis for everything.
I think the big bad evil guy, he's in the tower, but like if you're just trying to get to the the end boss of a random dungeon or something like that, he's in the lower levels, I feel like.
Okay.
And I mean, again, it's on the style, so like if it's undead, you're probably going down.
Mm-hmm.
If he's like I don't know, like more like crazy archmage kind of evil guy, he's probably in like a tall spire or something like that.
Sure,
you got to look at what kind of clothes he's wearing.
I guess. The beverage tea says down. The only way is up from there.
Okay. All right.
Margaret Scott, aka the Magic the Gathering TV show writer Margaret Scott,
gasp,
replied to this question with, let the gods decide. Flip a coin, roll a d20, even or odd.
Sure.
So yeah, there you go. We should have mentioned that at the beginning of this episode. Maybe I'll mention it at the beginning of the next episode in case people didn't listen this far. So there's going to be a Magic the Gathering Netflix show coming soon. And Margaret Scott, friend of the podcast, Margaret Scott, is one of the writers.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
That's pretty awesome. Now, I've never gotten familiar with like the lore of Magic the Gathering.
You call yourself a nerd. Says the person who's never played Magic.
Right, but I know all the characters' names and stuff. Like all the different like planeswalkers and like all the guilds of Ravnica.
What are planeswalkers?
They're
sorry, it's a joke. Sorry, go on.
I mean, planeswalkers are like the main players of the.
Okay.
Like in the game Magic the Gathering, the player, are technically
you're taking the role of a planeswalker, playing out these cards that represent the whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although there have in the last like 5 to 10 years they introduced like cards that are planeswalker cards that you basically so you have a planeswalker partner sort of.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
They have their own special set of abilities and things like that, but you keep them out on the board and they're separate from the creatures unless otherwise said so. Because some of them are like one of their things is they use one of their abilities and it turns them into a creature that can attack and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. One more on Twitter. The Lonely Orc. I say Lonely because it's spelled like lonely but spelled different. The Lonely Orc says up to chase the cowardly humans and club the backs of their soft heads. That's in character, I suppose.
I like it.
Who knew orcs could use Twitter?
God, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I want to make. Now I want to make Twitter personas.
I'm sure there's plenty out there.
Oh yeah.
Over on Discord, Adam B says up as my DM is a sadistic son of a beep and hides horrible things in basements.
Sure. Right. Yeah. That's another way. If you know your DM style.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Like if they really like oozes and undead and things like that.
They like things that tend to fall down.
Yeah.
So it's like poker. Don't play the game. Play your opponent.
Right.
Not that your DM is your opponent.
Yeah, I think
the monsters are your opponent.
We had an episode about that, I'm pretty sure.
Yodelea Hihu says, I would choose up. My DM is as insane as I am when I DM, so I know both directions will have something bad, but I figure if I go up, I might be able to jump to a lower floor somehow.
Sure. Yep.
Jason says, why would I ever want to go down a level? I'd lose hit points, spells, and abilities. I always want to go up a level. That's an Order of the Stick reference from a very, very, very old Order of the Stick comic back from when Order of the Stick was just a goofy comic making fun of D&D.
Right, yeah.
Peace Roy Pancake says, definitely up. Number 1, we all know the power of high ground. Number 2, the view is probs better. And 3, I figure in case things get super bad, running down the stairs is quicker than running up them. So there you go. Up is the way to go.
Yeah.
And Stiltskin Kupo 84 says, I would go up, assuming the floors do stop at some point. Hopefully they stop at some point going up.
Never know.
You never know. Is this one of those endless staircases?
Right. Like Mario 64 when you don't have enough stars.
True. Assuming the floors do stop at some point, as most non-magical buildings are designed with a top floor. Going down has the potential to lead you through a cavernous, underdark, clear across to a whole new country. And well, for convenience sake, I'd rather explore the tower while I'm here. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. So that was last week's social media question. This week's social media question is: you can make an adventuring party comprising 4 characters from popular fiction, but no more than 1 per franchise. Who do you pick?
Oh,
Yeah. I specifically said only 1 from each franchise, because otherwise you'd be like, Iron Man,
Avengers.
Thor,
Yeah.
Captain America, Doctor Strange, boom, you win.
Right, yeah. Oh, man, that's tough.
It's a tough one.
It might take me a minute to think of something, but...
And if you want to, say what role you think they would play in the party. You don't have to, but you can. I didn't specify that in the question.
Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay.
He'd be a good artificer.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm mostly just gonna try and pick some of my favorite characters and stuff from different. Shoot, I have a few in mind.
Okay.
We'll start there. I'd have to give this some thought. So yeah, we'll wait. I'll wait until the next episode.
Okay. That's fine.
I have a couple in mind that I kind of like. One of them is Edward Elric.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the Elric brothers, but that's 2 people.
Yeah, okay, I'll pick one.
But I like Edward Elric. He's like one of my favorite characters in any sort of like anime or whatever.
Okay.
I just like his powers. I like the alchemy powers in that. Anyway.
Sure.
But the other one would be Gregory House.
Oh,
he's really smart.
I actually have a similar. Well, go on.
Yeah. So, but then again, I've been watching House with Skylar the last couple weeks, so it's in my brain. But I like that character. He'd figure out puzzles in a snap.
Okay.
So he'd be a good good rogue, or he'd be good with like the thieves' tools sort of thing, or he'd have a good medicine check, obviously.
Sure. Got any others? You can dwell on it.
Yeah, I'll have to think about it.
This is going to be a bit of a jokey answer.
Okay.
But I would pick Thor from the Avengers, of course. Then I don't know are we allowed to pick not necessarily a franchise, but if there's something like a real world legend or something like that. I guess I'm asking you as if I'm not the one who posed the question. Let's just say Thor from the Avengers. The Norse god of thunder.
Right.
Thor.
Right.
Vincent D'Onofrio's character from Adventures in Babysitting. He would probably be the rogue. His name is Thor.
Right.
And then from Nurse Jackie, the paramedic, Thor.
Wow. An Adventures in Babysitting reference. Gabe. Wow.
I was trying to think what pieces of fiction have characters named Thor.
Right. Or the guy who played the Mountain in Game of Thrones.
Is his name Thor?
Yeah, he is the strongest man in the world. I think he's the strongest living human. I think now.
Wow. That would have been a much cleverer answer.
I think his name is Thor, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure his name is actually Thor.
I don't know.
Or maybe they just call him Thor now because he's so strong.
That's very likely.
I don't know.
All right. Well, that was my jokey answer. I don't know if I'll pick a real answer by next time or not, but. Okay, so that'll do it for our questions for this week. So before we close out, let's sit back. Let's take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, Jeff.
Hold up, I'm looking up.
Take a deep breath, Jeff. There we go. I'm getting a bit lightheaded as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. That log was thrown from miles away by the guy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I don't think his name is Thor. I just remember seeing somebody calling him Thor on something or whatever.
I mean, it makes sense if he's strong.
Yeah, it might just be like a nickname or something.
Yeah. So today's funeral pyre story is going to be a short one. It was submitted by Collins B via Discord, and I will say that I slightly changed one part of this, and I will clarify what I mean by that. So. Colin's story started out, well, here I am again. I'll mix things up by giving Dr. Martin Longstreet a limerick in memoriam of his stupidity. Longstreet was in a bad place. The doctor a dragon did face. He said the wrong thing, was picked up by the thing, who squeezed till his head was displaced.
Oh, no.
I actually changed the last line, because his last line he didn't rhyme with place or face.
Oh.
So I changed it so it did.
Well, maybe that was part of the joke or something. I don't know.
Maybe. In any case, I didn't. I changed it. So let us raise a glass. I'm gonna give my own poetry.
Okay.
Let us raise a glass in memory of Longstreet, head and brainless. Clink. As a haiku.
Nice.
Just so you know.
It was like clink haiku.
Because if I didn't say it, you probably wouldn't realize. All right, well, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is our YouTube channel where we play video games.
Yes. Speaking of video games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about the show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time,
take back what you said about Thor.
Breaking news. This is the Lisa addendum. I just wanted to let you all know that I bought so many Indian clothes today, and it's so good, and I'm so excited, and I can't even look at them because it's just too beautiful. And then Gabe pinched me.